turn on us, right? And so let's rewind the tape and go through the transaction again and just rework that whole scene, right? So there's a puddle in the backyard. You know, if you have a rental, or if you have been on the planet longer than 15 minutes and lived in Phoenix area, you understand that's probably a pretty simple sprinkler repair. It is probably not massive, you know, it's not a water line, or there'd be way more water. It's coming on when the sprinkler comes on. The PVC pipe maybe cracked last winter when it froze. Who knows? If you didn't have high heels on, you'd get down and fix it yourself right then and there, right? That was my second joke. So if we had simply said, what is going on here? We have a question. Oh, they want us to get a licensed landscaper out here, a contractor. Let's find a couple and then have them review the situation. And if that bid comes back really high and you roll your eyes, you've done your job though. And if the buyer says, wow, here's this bid you got, or you introduced me to 3 people or whatever, they're all licensed contractors for landscaping, okay? Then if that bid had come in high, let's say it was come in at $7,500, that you're just like, are you kidding me? What are you gonna do, redo the whole lawn? The buyer would have made the decision, that seems high, I'm not gonna worry about it. Let's just ask for a credit from the seller. In this scenario, we had a kind of a grumpy seller too, who, you know, things just didn't work out, because if there had been there was a request for credit, but the seller denied it because of the market that we're in. Seller doesn't have to pay the credit, right? But now this has been going on since, oh gosh, the summer of 2021, I'd say. And so here we are, not getting paid. All we had to do was say, they've asked for a licensed contractor. What we did was we opened up into our sphere of influence and we gave our landscaper to this buyer. We did him a favor and opened him up to this wonderful, honest person who probably doesn't have the proper licensing to do his job. But it turns out gluing PVC pipe together doesn't take much. So he is great at what he does. There you go. Second example. So this is the example of simply hunting down and number 2 and number 3. You know, one of the most important things we can do is forward paperwork back and forth. We never want to make an executive decision that I've seen the paperwork and it's fine, or take the word of the other side to say the repairs have been done. So we say, oh, hey, I've just been informed the repairs have been done. We get the copy of the repairs, because the contractor sometimes will make a note on that repair, and or we're going to learn something. For example, we asked for a licensed contractor to repair the roof, and it turns out it was done by Joe's Handyman Service. My most favorite document I ever saw was, I kid you not, it was an invoice, and the company was called El Cheapo Construction. I love that. I like how they just got that out there, right? So in this one, we had a water invasion during escrow, a bad one. Pipes broke, whatever. There's flooding. They have to cut the drywall out around certain areas and whatever. Insurance is in charge. Okay, we tell the buyer, you can cancel. You know, we'll give you your money back. We can't believe this happened. Buyer says, I want to stay in the escrow. I had a dream and God told me to buy this house. True story. So here we go. We let them, they wait the entire remediation period. Okay, I'm talking weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. All the remediation is done. We close escrow, they move in, they sue us all in about 21 days. Why? Mold. We modified the spuds and told them there was mold in the house, which was discovered during the repair by the insurance company. But apparently, we didn't say the word enough, because they filed anyway, because they got in, they ripped the house apart and found more mold and said that we needed to have disclosed that. Not a very good case, right? I mean, the entire time I dealt with this, I felt we were in the driver's seat, and these buyers were a little bit crazy, a little bit demanding, considering the fact that the escrow was delayed. Why? Water invasion, which caused mold, which was remediated, which was handled by the insurance company. They still filed for non-disclosure. The linchpin was during discovery. And when they ask for everything, right? They say, I want every email you've ever written, etc., on this subject. We turned over the mold report. That was the first time they'd seen the mold report that came back from the insurance company. And on the mold report, it said there was mold. There was a little bit of mold, which is truly how you read a mold report. There's mold everywhere. We had a situation recently where we looked back and looked at the mold report, and it's so clean. We realized what they did was basically bleached the kitchen and then took the test because it was abnormal. There should be a little bit of mold, but the plaintiff's counsel said that his expert felt that that was too much mold in the home and we shouldn't have let them move in. That's not really our job, right? But the question is, why didn't we forward the paperwork? And the answer was, I thought that if she modified the spuds, that would be enough. See, so we made a decision instead of just not making a decision and forwarding the documentation. That's a really horrible example, isn't it? Because it's truly not our job. But when we had the mold report and we elected to not forward it, and we thought it was stronger to do the representation in the spuds, and it ended up wrapping around and biting us. And so that is not the best example, but I do like it for, if we get it, the other side gets it, right? Someone sends us the repair is completed, our client, we forward that to the other side. Otherwise, they're going to say we're holding it back for a particular reason. Number 3 is almost identical. In the purchase, the buyer's inspector said you should replace the entire roof. So there was a request to replace the entire roof, including the carport. This is one of those homes that has a flat roof. There's nothing structural except the fact that it has a top and you drive your car underneath it to block the sun. This home was built during the Johnson administration. There you go, a little factual, take us back in time. Big storm comes. Oh, anyways, we said no to the roof repair. We did agree to repair a couple of tiles. And in that piece of paper, it said that the buyer requests then that a couple $100 of work to be done by a licensed contractor. Seller agreed, signed it. Seller didn't use a licensed contractor. We knew that. Our seller is grumpy. She's bought and sold multiple homes with our agent. She's hard to get along with. She doesn't like very many people. She uses a very small circle of friends that she uses for her repairs, etc. Our agent is aware of that and didn't want to poke the dragon, right? And so what happened is we have the tile repairs are done. We have a major storm. The roof is kind of ripped off in one area, not even the area that we did the repair on, but the roof is torn off. The water, there's a rain, water gets down inside, and they start to talk about mold and the fact that their child potentially has damage in their lungs. Not making this up. So we go into discovery, etc. And here comes the report from the person who did the tiles. It was done by like Bob's Handyman Service, who she uses all the time. He doesn't have a contractor's license. He doesn't have the ability to work on a roof. His work of hundreds of dollars even, according to the contractors board, went past what he should have even been touching. That is what the plaintiffs hung their hat on. Let's go back to number 2. Think about the one where there was a water invasion. So the buyer was so fully aware of water invasion, then learned there was mold, which delayed escrow even more. And then we closed escrow, and what they sue us for? Mold, non-disclosure of mold, although we have been talking about mold for literally months. And on this one, we talked about the roof, the entire escrow. And what did they sue us on? The roof, non-disclosure. Well, how could we not disclose the roof? We talked about it. You guys asked for a complete 100% replacement of the roof, and now you're suing us because there's something wrong with the roof. Can you believe this? And we went to mediation, we had a settlement conference, whatever. And what was the plaintiffs hanging their hat on? Fraud. You guys knew, well, you promised us in writing that you would have the repair done by a licensed contractor. The couple of tiles. You chose to do it with an unlicensed individual. You didn't share that with us on purpose. And here we are. And now we have, my child has lung damage and da 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 da. Crazy, right? So how simple is it when we get paperwork, we forward it? If on number 3 with the roof case, if we can't convince our grumpy client to use a licensed contractor, we have to talk to them about the fact that they're about to commit to a document that says they're going to use a licensed contractor. So before you sign this, let's talk about what you're going to do. I'm going to use the same unlicensed handyman I use on all my houses. Let's tell the buyer that. Better yet, let's not do the repair at all. In this market, this is a different market. It's different now, but now you could literally hand them a couple $100 or just say no. They had to do the repair to save the deal before, but you have to really talk to your client about before you pen your name to this thing. And then when you do the repair, get me the document, because even if we had forwarded the handyman's invoice, that would have been an indication to the buyer that a licensed contractor was not used. I mean, it was clear as day that what his limitations were, right? We did not forward that document because we felt that the repairs, you know, the fact that the repair request had been denied, whatever, was adequate. All you want to do is push the button for forwarding, right? Without even explaining it. So we had the one. I had another one where how this happened is a small miracle. I don't know in the wrong way, but we asked for a mold repair in the kitchen, and they said they would do it. We never got in writing. How is that possible? We have a brand new agent, but verbally they said they would do it, and ultimately we moved in. And because the buyer had a baby, and he's like, I got to get into this house, and there's delays. And he said, I don't care what the status is, just get it closed. So we closed escrow. He moved in. He found his mold. He had to redo his kitchen. He had to use his hall bath for the water, and he ruined his carpet because they're carrying spaghetti sauce back and forth, whatever. So we paid for his new carpet and whatever. And the only reason they didn't come after us worse was they knew that we tried day in and day out to collect paperwork from the seller. Our agent texted, emailed, whatever, said, where's the documentation? Where's the documentation? I need it. And then he would share that with the buyer. I can't get the documentation that they're finishing up with the mold. Ultimately, the hilarious part was that when we said, hey, now that we've closed, we found mold, we'd like to see the paperwork that you never did respond to, or what you never gave to us during escrow. And they said, we never said we were going to fix anything about mold. And that's true. When you go back through the paperwork, I don't know how he got duped, but they pulled a fast one on us. But that one was where they did do a mold test and sent it over, and it was so clean. I think they took the test inside a Clorox bottle, right? Which is not normal. So we search and collect the paperwork. If we can't get it, we tell the people involved, I can't get the paperwork. I've asked 10 times. They haven't sent it to me. And then when you do get it, if you're the seller's agent, you forward it off to the buyer without comment, right? And then they have it. Now let them go through it. Because I tell you what contractors do is sometimes they'll write a little note at the bottom, we fixed the repair, but we suggest you do X, Y, Z. Because they're trying to cover themselves also when things break. Because when you're a seller, you're not invested. You're leaving the house. When you're a buyer or a homeowner and you have a repair done, the contractor pokes his head out from the floor and says, hey, for $500 more, we can keep going and fix even more now that we've ripped the bathroom out. And as a homeowner, you're invested and you say, yes, that's a good increase in price for what I'm going to get. If you're a seller and you have to do a $422 repair and the contractor says for $89 more I can do X, Y, Z, the seller says, no, I don't live here anymore. I don't want to spend a penny past what I'm obligated to do, right? That's why you look for that repair document from the contractor, because they'll often write down that they had that conversation. For $89 more, I can get rid of these dead bodies I found in the walls. Right? Moving on. There's no answer to number 4. This is just the market we're in. This is a case that Charlie and I personally worked on recently. And we had a very aggressive seller buyer. We pulled an incredible task off. We sold the client's home. We got him in a new home. We did it all under about 30 days. And it was FHA. Our agent was great. And yet the buyers filed a complaint against us for the frustration that they went through in the matter. And I think about this case all the time because, it went to the real estate division. The real estate division threw it out and said nothing went wrong here. Went to the board of realtors. Board of realtors found against us, said we did something wrong, said that we could have done a better job, which is, sometimes you just get a bad panel. Sometimes you just get folks who think, it's really hard to be a judge. I mean, if you are sitting in judgment of someone, you have to be very careful. Just because someone got hurt doesn't necessarily mean it's the other person's fault, right? I mean, you can have traffic accidents where you did run that person over, for example, or run into them, but a bird flew into your car and hit you in the face or something. So things can happen, and it's not necessarily anyone's fault. And you got to be really careful as a judge not to just say, think my job is to find fault. That's not necessarily true. So we had a situation where a seller waived all their rights, right? They're like, I want to get this house closed and I want to get in my next one, and I want to be very attractive. I want to waive my inspections. I want to waive the appraisal. I want to give them an acceleration clause, which was used. And they're trying to save money also while they're giving up their rights. And in their sale, the buyer who was going to buy from them said, hey, I'll let you stay in the home post close of escrow, but I need to know now. And you got to pay me a little bit of money. And the seller said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be able to do a move in one day, etc. And the buyer was an investor, and he has a team of folks who come in and paint, whatever. So he said, if you don't take this opportunity now, you're not going to be able to stay because I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to disrupt my supply chain, basically, of the people who come in and retro my houses so I can get them rented out. And so we had a small glitch of moving money from sale to purchase. And there was a slight delay where the seller was going to be homeless for 10 minutes and not have anywhere to put their stuff. And we pulled a miracle and finally got a verbal to move into the garage. Our agent actually moved the furniture for or with the homeowner until 2:00 in the morning. And we still have this complaint against us. And the only thing I can say is when I go back and I look at everything that we did, the client was so unreasonable throughout the process that our agent elected to be very polite and not necessarily call them out on their phrasing of things while they were talking. So if they were to say something negative and it's kind of your fault, our agent didn't necessarily correct them right then. They would just talk positively and say how we're going to remedy the situation. So this one is an odd one because there's no answer, right? I just pointed out because you got to remember that when you've got somebody who starts guns a-blazing and they're like, I know everything and I'm going to waive all my rights and I know this and I know that, and and it's like when things starts to go awry, we have to professionally, eloquently, somehow remind them why we're here, right? Okay, let's remember you had the opportunity to do post-possession. You didn't want to take it because you didn't want to spend the money, and that's okay. I might have made the same decision, but here we are. You don't have anywhere to go, so let's fix that. And that way we can keep reminding them why we're here. Because this thing blew up into, how come I didn't get an inspection? Well, you didn't ask for one. You waived it and you never asked for one during escrow. Well, you should have told me that, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really a no-win situation. The only thing I can advise is try to recapsulate what's going on without being too rude, right? And reminding them so we have a history when you're talking to them on the text, because this particular buyer must have emailed and texted us, I don't know, hundreds of times. We had it all. And if you look at it, it's so one-sided. I mean, they were so aggressive and always painting a picture that it was all our fault. When if you go all the way to the beginning, It clearly was not. And the real estate division saw right through that. They looked at everything and said, there's nothing wrong here. Unfortunately, the board of realtors got a little, I don't know if they woke up on this wrong side of the bed that day or something, but they really, in my opinion, the decision was completely faulty and that they found fault in us. But I just warn you, like in this market, that's what people are doing. They're saying, I know everything, waive everything, get me in the house. This is the fourth escrow I've lost. I don't care. I don't care. We just have to keep reminding them that it's still risky even to do that. Okay, last one. This is my favorite, which blew up over the weekend. I thought I had it wrapped up, but what's today? I think Sunday, I got a text and I said, did I miss your call? I called one of the attorneys and she just let me have it. So the whole deal is unraveling. It's awesome. Here we go. We have a seller who's our client who has a rental. The renter is driving them crazy. The renter would continuously tell our seller that they weren't going to pay rent because of COVID. They really did pay rent the entire time, every month. But the seller would call us and say, my tenant keeps calling me and saying they're probably not going to be able to pay rent. It's $1 million house. They're thinking that they have a right to not pay rent. And when they don't pay rent, if they have to come clean later and pay it, they're probably just going to file bankruptcy. And so the seller would call us frantic and say, is this true? We, of course, would say, hey, you never know. I mean, tenants can have any number of reasons not to pay rent. If you don't get rent from a tenant, and they go bankruptcy, take the bankruptcy route, probably you're not looking very good in then getting that money. And it is true. I mean, most, our agent said, in my experience, yeah, when tenants go BK, you can get rid of them, but no, you probably will not get the prior rent. Remind me again what's going on. And well, they just keep saying that they were paying the rent the entire time. Okay. Another thing is that the seller gave this tenant a first right of refusal prior to involved. Okay. And we were aware of that. All right. So now the seller calls us and says, I'm going to sell this house. I can't deal with this tenant anymore. I want to get a different type of 1031 exchange. I want to move to something that's a little bit less volatile. And we say, okay, we can help you with the replacement, et cetera, et cetera. And so we take the listing, we start to market it, we get an offer. We know there's a first right of refusal. We send the first right of refusal. We send the offer over to the buyer, the tenant, and we say, TikTok, you have this much time to, I've seen the document, and you have to, it's built in the lease actually. You have to let us know in X amount of time that you're not going to buy it. And I know you're not going to buy it because you're a deadbeat, right? Because you've been threatening my client the whole time and whatever. What do you think the tenant says? I'll take it. Open escrow. I can pay cash. So the tenant has been lying the whole time. He had money the whole time. We got sucked into, we knew everything because we heard from the seller that the tenant had been threatening to not pay rent, threatening to go BK. We immediately assumed the guy would never be a good viable candidate for a purchase. And we were taking care of business, and we sent over the offer to the tenant before we shored it up. So what we should have done is said, you have given your tenant a first right of refusal. You understand what that means? So if you get a deal and you give it to them, they can take the deal. They'll never do that. The tenant's a complete loser. He says he has no money. He's never, ever going to be able to do that. Okay, right. But just in case, let's make sure that we have it set up, because if we hand him the offer and he takes it, money's money. So what's your concern? Well, I'm a seller and I know my house is attractive, but where I want to go to another area and buy something. Now I'm going to be in the same problem that all buyers are in, that there's not a lot of inventory. So I really want some controls. And we talked about making sure that the seller had the ability to either delay escrow, to find a replacement property, get detailed down so that we could do this 1031, because once we pull the trigger, You know, the 1031 rules are, you know, they move like lightning, right? I mean, you have 45 days to select, and then you have 6 months or 180 days. It's not 6 months. It's 180 days to close. And you know, our seller wanted the ability to potentially cancel, or you know, and because all the timelines begin when you close escrow, right? So the seller wanted the ability to stretch out the escrow, which we were going to do. First thing we did though was we sent the offer over to deadbeat tenant who we knew would not be able to do the offer, and we were then going to be in control, and then we were done with him, and we could go deal with the real buyers. So the tenant says, I'll take the house, and the landlord says, trying to think of a nice way to say, I don't know if there's a nice word to say, the F word. I don't think so. But anyway, the seller said, absolutely not, over my dead body. You have ruined my life in the last 8 months, threatening me with financial ruin. I will not be selling you the home. So the buyer gets an attorney, files a lis pendens, sues the seller. You can imagine how happy the seller is now, right? Now the seller has a lawsuit. If we had simply packaged it up and said, hey, let's make sure that get everything you want, get a counter offer in, get it wrapped up, subject to the tenant taking it, but let's put you in position to do the 1031 and have the ability to extend to get a replacement property and whatever, and then we'll turn it over to the tenant. And the tenant says, yes, I'll take it. The landlord, our client, would have said, wow, you're so smart. I can't believe it. I'm in total control now. Money's money. I'm going to get the same pricing. I have the same control. So not only are we now forced into escrow with the tenant, we don't have any of those safeguards that we had spoken about because we made a mistake. We believed the seller and made the assumption, because we're experts at everything, that this tenant was not going to be able to close escrow. So now we've lost the relationship with the seller for the most part. He may come back around. They're rather difficult to deal with, but they're also pretty thick-skinned. I think they might forgive us one day. On Christmas Eve, we were dragged into the case. So now, thank God. I mean, I don't know if you guys, it just doesn't feel right if we're not, actually sued in a lawsuit, right? I mean, it's just so much better. Like now we're a party. Now we have to turn over all of our emails, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we were dragged into the case. Why? Because the buyer is now saying that we were negligent in our duties as a real estate agent because we offered something that wasn't offerable. We knew the seller was not going to close or something. So they're coming after us from, you made a mistake in you didn't really have the ability to offer the home to us, even though you said you did. And it's a weak case, but it doesn't matter. We're just wasting our time. Think about it. We had a wonderful seller who believed in us, who was venting and confiding in us, and gave us, all trust was to us, that help me, I've got to get out of this horrible situation. This tenant is driving me crazy. And we said, no problem, we're going to sell the house for you. We're going to find you a replacement property. And the entire thing has exploded. So, and even as of Sunday, we worked a deal out, 2 weeks ago, where we're losing $100,000 commission on the listing. The seller is, relatively okay with this because we waived our commission. We did find them a replacement property, and we're going to get paid on that one. And we settled a couple weeks ago, but now, just as of Sunday, the whole thing is exploding because the tenant apparently thinks he's getting the commission on the deal because we're not in it anymore. And I'm not really worried about it liability wise anymore because we have a document that everybody signed. But it's just absolutely bonkers that we're not, roll the tape back and just do it a little bit differently. And we are golden, right? We're the heroes. Nobody knew the tenant was going to be able to buy the house. He really did make everyone believe that he was on thin ice and that COVID was going to destroy him. and he was going to take us down with him. That's exactly what he said. Turns out he was lying. And if we had simply stepped back and said, what are the facts? We have a first right of refusal. All right, well, let's respect it. No, we don't have to. I don't have to respect the first right of refusal because I know the wherewithal of that tenant based on what I've heard, and I've been doing this a long time. That's what we did. We totally made a mistake. And instead of cashing a check on this one and then going to get the replacement property, and then that person telling everybody at the club what awesome realtors we are and how we saved the day, and we were adamant that we had to be ready when we dropped off the first right of refusal, just in case that deadbeat could close. They did close. They saved the day. I love you as my realtor. This is great. Can you imagine what a mess we'd be in? Ha 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 ha. No, that's not what's happening. And this person, unfortunately, has been such a good client to our agent. They have actually received referrals from Mexico. This guy's been buying houses and selling houses in Mexico, down in Baja, and they did a referral down there and actually have been getting paid, which is kind of neat. And that's all ruined. And just now, I mean, I thought we were getting along pretty well, and then it exploded on Sunday, where one of the attorneys in the situation is actually quitting, and privately she told me how upset she was, and she just went on and on and on and on and on and on how mean everybody is and the whole deal. And it's just like, and I just shake my head thinking, man, it was right in front of us, right? We got such a great opportunity. We got a call from somebody who had inventory, $1 million house. We're gonna just save the day. We're gonna sell this one. We're gonna buy them another one. Who knows what this person is going to do? And we know that we have bought land with them. Land was the only other deal. And then we got those referrals out of Mexico. All ruined because we just didn't for 30 seconds respect the situation. And we were the experts, and we knew that the tenant would not be able to pay, and we were wrong. All right. So those are the 5. Think about that. Every single one of those examples, you don't really have you don't have to know what section of ARS controls us. You don't have to understand really, the ins and outs of 1031. You don't have to know how a mold report works or how sprinkler systems actually work, right? All we have to do is simply do our job. And we don't do any favors, right? Somebody's asked for a licensed contractor, we go get them one. Then we forward the paperwork. And we don't have a comment. And if we know something, we got to get that information to the other side. By simply forwarding the documents, we continue on the path of productivity. And by just getting off that path just a little bit, all those situations are just months of anguish where you're not focusing. And if you don't want to focus on real estate, then go focus on fly fishing. If you're not focusing on fly fishing, focus on your family or something. Imagine how much time we have to give these people when we get off track, when you could be doing anything else you want. You could be sitting at home watching television or doing something quality. Who knows? That's your time. And you have to give it back to them because of either a favor or the simplistic thing of not forwarding a document or just making an assumption. I had a case years ago where the buyer sued us during the recession because they felt they overpaid. What happened is they bought a penthouse condo, 5,000 square feet, 2 floors, 4 balconies, and they saw on county records how much the seller had bought it for. That was delayed because, if you recall, during the recession, sometimes these closings weren't as caught up because there were so many foreclosures and so many title transfers happening that sometimes you wouldn't get it, like the way it's very timely now. That wasn't happening. This particular seller purchased 4,000 homes in one day. He bought 4,000 houses across the United States from a bank. Okay, you can imagine the paperwork's a little confusing. We got into escrow. He just picked the value on any home, so it didn't mean anything to reality as to what title showed. That was just how much taxes he wanted to pay on each unit, on each home. But our buyer, saw that he had paid about 25% of what they had paid and got very upset and were offended and said that we should have known that number, and they felt like they got ripped off. It's like, well, your price is your price. It doesn't really matter what someone paid yesterday. You elected to buy. Anyways, we went all the way to trial and prevailed. The buyer wanted the difference between what was sold, what the seller had recorded on, and what the buyer had paid. I kid you not. Went all the way to a jury trial. But the thing is, you know what they hung their hat on was, halfway through escrow, we learned that the title was wrong. So the seller had sold the unit under an LLC XYZ. That wasn't correct. He had recorded that title into another LLC that he had commenced. And he made a mistake. He was still committed to the contract. It didn't matter. And we went in and took care of that in escrow. Our agent did not share that with our buyer. She didn't feel it was relevant. It was just a paperwork semantics. Don't worry about it. That's what they hung their hat on. All the way through trial, they said, if I had known that I wasn't in contract with XYZ and I had a chance to get out right then, I would not have re-signed. When they went to escrow, they signed a document that modified the seller's name. And they said, no one explained that to me, and I wanted to get out of the deal, and that's why you owe me $1 million. And you know, it's kind of timely, interesting point, because the buyers were Russian, and Putin invaded the Crimea Peninsula during the jury trial. I kid you not. It couldn't work out any better for me. I'm just like, wow, your nation is in the news. So if you got any Russian buyers right now that you want to get into a fight with, this is a good time, because they're probably going to invade Ukraine, and then the jury's not going to like them, et cetera, et cetera. That was a joke. That was a joke. That really did happen. During the jury trial, Putin invaded the Crimea, or however you say it, and I was just like, buddy, I can't believe the luck. And the buyers had to use a Russian interpreter, and jurors, that never goes over well, right? You know what was great about that case? The Russian buyer kept correcting the interpreter. So the interpreter, the question would come, interpreter would turn to the Russian and say, da, 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 and then the Russian would answer in Russian, and then the interpreter would turn to the jury and say, she said it was a Tuesday. And then the Russian on the stand would turn to the jury and say, no, I didn't say that. I said Wednesday, in English. He kept correcting the interpreter during jury trial. And I'm like, am I in a sitcom? Like, this is awesome. This is never going to go over well with the jury that you actually speak English, and you're making us all sit through. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why their attorney didn't, but she kept correcting the interpreter. So anyways, that was the example of not knowing your role, right? Our buyer agent had become really good friends with that couple, showing them her doctors in town, going shopping, helping open the door 50 times in that condo. That condo was a shell. And they were letting interior designers in, and they were going to do all this work. I mean, it's a really beautiful unit, you know. And it's funny because every single day it went up in value. So she paid $800,000, and by the time we got through trial, it was worth like 1.9, because she bought it in the summer of 2012. I don't know if you guys remember the summer of 2012. That was the lowest point of pricing in the recession. That was the darkest time, and from there it went up, and it's still going up since 2012. But all we have to do is know our role in that simple scenario. Hey, the seller's called. They screwed up all the paperwork. We're not in contract. Oh, what should I do? We're going to change it. We're going to go down to escrow, and you're going to sign that you're now in contract with XYZ instead of ABC. Oh, okay. That's it. There's the phone call. And if they say, well, if they said something to the effect of, am I not in contract? Well, that's a different question, and we would deal with it. And then we'd say, I can't answer that question. I mean, it seems you aren't, but if you're worried about this, perhaps you can get an attorney. You're paying, cash for a huge thing. You have money, you can't expect me to solve the defect that the seller did on the naming of the who was on title, et cetera, et cetera. But we didn't do that. We didn't do that because the buyer was our best friend, and we knew better than them. And this is not something they needed to be burdened with. There you go. Those are the 5 examples, right? The only thing I want to say right now, and I think Charlie and I talked about this. I'm getting a lot of questions where people waive their right to get an inspection or anything, even an appraisal. And then during escrow, they want to get it anyway. There's no answer to that except you should probably just go do it. If you're the seller, if I get a call and they say, hey, we have a contract, they waive their rights to get an inspection. Now they want to get an inspection. I said, well, here's what's going to happen. If you don't let them in, they're going to close escrow. They're going to find something. They're going to say the reason you didn't let us get an inspection is because you were hiding all those facts, right? You just let them do it. They have to stick to the time frames, but especially during due diligence, the buyer can pretty much do anything. I mean, not destructive testing or whatnot. And the other thing is, I'm a broken record, but home warranties are so important in times like these. And if buyers say, I don't have any more money, I'm not going to get a home warranty. My boyfriend has an awesome set of tools. He can fix anything. The answer is you really should get a home warranty. You don't have to renew it. But if you get it the first year, it's so often that things happen in homes when they're treated differently. You have a empty nester move out and someone else moves in with a bunch of different people. So pipes get used differently and whatnot. And what I find the most relieving thing is that when it's 105 on July 8th, and somebody just paid for a home that they are really stressed out about, and the air conditioning goes out, you really want a professional in that person's living room as quickly as possible through the home warranty. It really doesn't matter if the home warranty says, we don't know if we're going to cover this. The most important thing is they are on the phone with a professional addressing that problem, be it sewage backup, be it air conditioning. The fact that the person's in their house, it can probably be remedied. Whether or not it's going to be paid for by the warranty company is only part of the problem. The biggest good thing is that somebody's there who can fix it. And when it's 105, you really don't care if it's covered by the warranty or not, right? You have to get that repaired. And if they're on the phone with you, you're a universe away from solving the problem if they're just sitting on their couch yelling and no one's in their home. If they're sitting on their couch yelling at you and the technician is in the house, we're really close to remedying this situation. We just don't know who's going to pay for it. And so if it, luck have it, many times it's a mere $500, which is a lot of money, but it's doable. Now, if it's 10,000, it's not going to be remedied in those next 5 minutes. But if the warranty says this isn't covered, but the maintenance person says, yeah, they're not going to cover it. If I do it, it's going to be $662. Well, $662 versus living in 105-degree weather on July 8th, it's a no-brainer. That's what you want. And also what I find is the professionals talk to the client and they say, they'll sometimes calm them down. Sometimes they make it worse, but most of the times they'll calm them down. They say, this is common. I'm getting this. I'm getting this all over town. People's air conditionings are breaking, or this is a sewage stoppage that can happen. It's like, don't you think this is a non-disclosure? And it's like, you never know. I mean, just things happen, and I'm a plumber, and this is what I do, and people have working pipes, and then they stop. It happens. You want them to be able to vent with that person, and not just you, right? Not just you. You've got to. They want to, and they don't have anybody to call. You guys, if you have a rental or something, you know who to call when X happens. Most people don't have a list. That's what the home warranty does. It gives them, they make the call and they say, what's going on? And say, my washing machine stopped working. Oh, then you have to call, the maintenance for utility, blah, 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 right? And then we make progress. Because one thing, what human beings can't handle is not making progress. If we don't know something's coming, somebody is working on it, we lose our minds, right? There's a wonderful study done by Domino's Pizza, which I mention a lot. And they used to say, we're going to get your pizza to you in 15 minutes or it's free. But they kept running people over in the street, right? Because they tell the 17-year-old, get the pizza there or you're fired. And so they would drive radically. And they literally had many, many lawsuits where they were causing accidents and whatever. And then they did a complete study on it. and they changed their mind based on what they learned. And they found that human beings want to know something. Just tell me the answer. I can get your pizza to you in 48 minutes because you called during the third quarter of the Super Bowl. And then they turn to the crowd and go, hey, everybody, the pizza will be here in just under 50 minutes. And everyone goes, oh, that's ridiculous. Okay. And then everybody watches their clock. And you better get there by 50 minutes. But you can say just about any number. And human beings, they learned, like to have a game plan. They don't want there to be an unknown. So you don't have coverage, but we can fix it, but it's $552. That's a remedy for a human brain. That we can understand. Now, whether or not they're going to call you and say that's your $552 bill is probably the next phone call, but and it depends on how getting along you are with your client at that point. But at least we have an answer. Does that make sense? On the warranty? That's all I have.
Great.
Oh, well, wire fraud. Can we talk about wire fraud?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's still out there. I think Charlie had one a month ago.
Yeah, we had one for about 1.7 just about a month and a half ago. Rick Mack was on the other day, and they just had 3 attempts in the last 2 weeks of wire fraud.
There you
go.
go.
Wire fraud is definitely out there.
It's out there, and we go back old school. This is another one. You don't have to understand wire fraud. You don't have to understand how to remedy it. All you got to do is tell your client, I will never send you a wire instruction. Nobody will. You can have as many questions as you want about wires. Call escrow 50 times. They don't care. Physically, because COVID is over, basically. Go in, get the piece of paper from them directly. I'm telling you, if they get it, and they can easily do it. They're so good at what they do. They can make it look like it's me, it's escrow, you name it. The ones that I've seen are fabulous. I mean, they are getting so good at manipulating the documentation that shows up. If you hover over their email address, it says Linda Lou, but then when you look at the address, it says Igor at Kansas.iripyouoff.net, whatever. They're not able to mimic our actual email addresses and somehow funnel that wherever. But they send an email and it says Darren Welsh. It's coming from Darren Welsh. But if you look close, it's Darren Welsh 1, at Gmail. You got to remember, our clients are confused always. So what is simple to you is overwhelming to them. They could be very successful, right? They could own their own business. They could have been a legal scholar. It doesn't matter. Everything that's coming across the wire to them is difficult for them to ascertain because they don't do this every day. You look down and you see an email from the escrow officer and it's at gmail.com, you're a suspect right away. You're like, why in the world is Linda using a private email when she has a work email? That would surprise you. It doesn't surprise our clients. They don't know. When they get a call halfway through escrow and say, we need to hurry up this wire and we're sending it to a new location and here's why. Whatever they say, to us, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, what did they say to you? They emailed me and said that the wire had to go on this day because, if we didn't hurry up and the Fed's going to close their doors or something. And then we'd be like, that doesn't even make sense. Doesn't matter. When you call them and say the inspection got moved to Friday because the inspector got sick, that's just as confusing to them. Everything they hear is hard on them. And we have to be very patient when we talk to them. And so the paperwork, when you look at fraud, is pretty comical sometimes, how bad it is. Spelled words and whatever. And you're like, why did you forward that money to Los Angeles? And it's like, they told me to. And everything they're doing is hard on them. Right? When you tell them to be there Tuesday instead of Wednesday, they're like, oh, okay, I'll make an arrangement. It's all hard on them. It doesn't matter if they have $1 million in a checking account or $10. We are experts and they are not. And you guys can float through this stuff so quickly. And sometimes we forget how lost they are because they drive a nicer car than us. They must be smarter than us. Wrong. They married up. That was a joke. Anything else?
Marina, you have a question?
Yes. I wanted to ask him about we have a general waiver, or that's how we call it, that Steve, our previous designated broker, gave to the agents. He made it available for us. And I usually have the buyers, when they say, I'm not going to do this kind of inspection. We all want to save money, right? And so they say, I don't want to do the mall inspection. So I have them sign the waiver saying that they're not going to do it. But it's this general waiver that I usually don't share with the seller, because if they, or if my buyer says, I don't want to do a home inspection. So I have them sign this waiver that has all the different inspections that they can do. And then if later on they said, maybe 5 days later, they say, you know what, I decided that I'm going to do the inspection. I have not given that to the seller, so we can still order that inspection. But if they sign that, am I supposed to share that with the seller?
No, you wouldn't have to.
That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure that I'm doing the right thing.
Right, that'd be an internal liability for you. If the seller commanded that such thing be done, then that'd be one thing. But no, you're doing the right thing. I mean, you want to reduce to writing what your client is telling you to do. You're reminding them that they don't want to get X, whatever, and fill in blank inspection. And they have the right to change their mind during escrow. They could say to you, I now want to go do it. And then you've got to jump and get that done. But no, you wouldn't share that with the seller at that stage. It would be in your file. And then if somebody wanted to get their access to the file at a later date, they get. But no, that's just you reducing to writing. An email can do the same thing. We don't always, that's a very good point that you do that. And this is what we're talking about. So when the client says, I have elected to not come back and do the walkthrough. I'm in Baja. I'm having such a good time. COVID has been so hard on me. I've elected to extend my vacation. We have to email them back quickly and say, great, you have you got to train ourselves to talk so that what we're doing is we're reminding them that they were scheduled to come back and fly in on Friday, and we were going to do the walkthrough on Saturday, and you've elected to waive your rights. It's not advisable. And here's some options. You can pay somebody to do the walkthrough for you or whatever. So you have that reduced to writing, so they don't have amnesia at a later date.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Darren, thank you so much. Great info. I am recording this, guys, so I will have this available, and I will talk with Darren and Charlie about where I can post this and where we're comfortable posting it. So I'll let you guys know where and when it will be available for future.
Yeah, there's no names or anything. So
we're good. All right, so I can post it on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then that's what I will do. I'll post it on my YouTube channel. It will also be on the Berkshire Hathaway Camelback page.
Have you guys seen the movie Coda yet?
No.
This is how they clap.
Todd,
you got to see the movie Coda.
Yes,
Todd,
Kenneth.
You should get that in writing.
I should get the. Thank you, Kenneth. I will get that in writing from Darren. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I really appreciate it, Darren.
See you next time.
I'm guessing I'm not going to see you tomorrow, but I will see Charlie there tomorrow.
Okay, bye.
At the awards banquet. Thanks, Darren. All right, guys, we're going to jump in real quick, and I'm going to finish up the meeting here real quickly. There's just a couple of things that I wanted to go through. Let's see, share entire screen.
Before you start, Todd, can I just summarize what Darren was saying?
Yes.
We're all such great people, and we want to help people all the time, and we want to take care of all their problems. But what he's saying to us, and what he and I see all the time, is when we overstep our role and overstep our bound, and we do things because we think we're really being helpful, but we don't stop to realize that what we could really be doing is putting ourselves and the company and our clients in jeopardy, because we made decisions for them instead of them making decisions for themselves. And the following up in writing is the other critical thing that we've always told everybody, no matter how it goes, when somebody says something on the phone, follow it up with an email or some kind of written that says, this is what we talked about, this is what you agreed, you're not going to do this or you're not going to do that. And disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. We don't get harmed with disclosure. We get harmed with non-disclosure. You know, because if you get a disclosure that you're uncomfortable with, but it gets out there because it's going to help save a transaction or keep a transaction on track. Because Darren and I, when we face these, they're usually ones he's talking about 6 months to a year later. And they're ones where, sure enough, we didn't quite do everything we could have done, should have done, and would have done in the transaction. So we're great people and we love to help everybody, but just keep that little thing in the back of your head. Am I doing this the right way so that the client is covered, I'm covered, and the company's covered with what we're trying to do? And with that, I'm going to sign off as well.
All right. Thanks, Charlie. I'll see you this afternoon. All right. So today is February 22nd, 2022. If you write this out the European way, it's 2202, 2022. So palindrome and whatever, all that stuff. So it's, yeah. And it's also Tuesday. So 2 for Tuesday. Vendor partners, thank you this morning for Kim for breakfast. She brought breakfast in this morning. And of course, she's not here today. She's out. And Ashley is in Texas. They are having their, Prosperity is having their annual get together in Texas with all of the Prosperity mortgage people. They're all together over there. So they are actually going to miss our awards banquet tomorrow. So thank you to all of our vendor partners. I don't know if there's anybody else on this morning, but thank you for being out there. We're going to just kind of jump through. Tomorrow morning is the awards banquet at 8:30 at the Westin Kierland. Hopefully you guys have all signed up to go. If you want to carpool, talk amongst each other. If you want to meet here and carpool up, it's always better. That way there's a bazillion cars in the parking lot up there. Let's see. Jackpot Joker. There is actually probably closer to $1,200 in Jackpot Joker now. So we've got a bunch of money in there. Oh, and I forgot the leftovers raffle gift. We've got the gift for the week. Marlene and Patty are the only 2 in it so far. $5 per ticket for that one. I'm sorry, you guys can't see that at home. St. Patrick's Day, taco cart and basket raffle, March 8th. We still haven't decided whether it's going to be a late morning or a happy hour. I think it's more than likely going to be a happy hour based on what I've seen for requests so far. But if you have a request, whether it's an afternoon or a happy hour, send that to Michelle so that she knows which one we would rather have it at. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be a happy hour, like 4 to 6 type thing. And that will be on the rooftop of the parking garage, as well as the basket raffle will be here in the office. So we'll kind of split back and forth between the two, but we'll be able to be outdoors. Hopefully it will be nice weather, not like it's supposed to be tomorrow. It's supposed to be rainy and yucky tomorrow morning. Bring your umbrella. News and notes, really not much to go on. The St. Patty's Day raffle, the awards banquet, 60-day jumpstart continues next Monday. Sorry, we didn't have it yesterday, but office was closed. I enjoyed a round of golf instead. Numbers for the week. We actually went up in active listings. Look at that. We went up 15. But single families dropped another 21. UCB and pending is up, closed is up, and coming soon is up slightly. Office numbers are looking decent. They're not great, but office numbers are
Todd, do you want to share your screen?
I'm not sharing the screen. Thought I was sharing screen. Where am I? Let's see.
What are you not seeing? I see it. Oh, yeah, it's distant.
I couldn't see the screen unless there it goes. Now I can see it.
Seeing it now?
Now I'm seeing it.
Okay. Are you still seeing it? Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yes.
All right. So there we go. Active listings 4663, 3703. February office numbers so far. We've got over 12 closings, and we're up to 14 or 15 this month now. We actually have 12 listings for the month and 29 sales for the month. And I think all of the listings that we have taken this month, I was kind of looking at them. It looks like every one of them are sold. I don't know if does anybody have any new or coming soon listings that they want to talk about? Yeah, I kind of figured we were short on them. So,
Todd, the patio home I've mentioned before will be in MLS on Monday.
on Monday. And what was the price on that?
$525, which is below current appraisal. It's not updated to today's standards, but it's move-in ready.
Oh, good. All right. Anybody else have any other buyer needs that they want to talk about? Everybody's got the same buyer needs that they've had. Still haven't gotten them under contract.
Hi,
That was
Todd.
Lynn Gallipo.
Hi, Todd.
Yes.
This is Bart.
Hey, Bart.
I have a new buyer that is looking at a 350 2-bedroom to up to 3-bedroom. Kind of the central downtown Phoenix area. Could be avenues, but yeah, they've been pre-approved. Everything's good to go. So if anybody has anything coming up, or on your watch list, let me know.
All right. Anyone else?
Hey, Todd.
All right. Yes.
Hey, this is Rick Hill from Kierland. Hi, you guys. Hey, I have a new listing in Anastasi at Tatum and Cactus. 2-bedroom, 2 baths, 2nd floor unit, really nice. New AC, $7,000 AC. Move-in ready, corner unit, 1,254 square feet. And it's listed at $425. 1 car, carport, and parking space, So it's really a great unit. Look at it in MLS. It's unit number.
That's a good price for Anasazi.
Yeah, it's really great price, and it's great unit, move in ready.
Cool. Any idea what rents are going for in there?
I think it's like 3,000, because I see a lot of things are 2,000 to 3,000 in there.
What's the HOA for that community? Do you know off the top of your head?
$355 a month.
$355.
It has 5 pools, 5 spas, and it's right
Does
next
the
to. Oh, I'm sorry.
does the HOA include utilities?
I don't think so. I think it
Okay.
includes water, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Cool. Todd, Rick.
Yeah.
Rick, it's so nice to see you.
And nice to see you, Todd, as well. Nice to see
That was
you,
Bart.
Bart. Oh, hey, Bart.
All right. I'm going to start sharing. We'll get back to our screen here. All right. Well, hey, there we do get to see Rick. We get to see his handsome face on the screen. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and draw the ticket for this one, for the Jackpot Joker. You're in. Yeah, they're over here.
I'm in, Todd.
Yep, Patty, you are in. Bart, you are in. And Dee Dee, you are in. And then we've got some people here that are in as well. And just so you know, I don't even know why I'm bothering to pick a ticket, because it's probably going to be Sharon. Sharon threw in a big old chunk of money today. She wants all the tickets. All right, ticket number is 9726401. 401. 401. 25. It is Sharon. All right. Go get a card. Get the good one. Pick the card.
Yay, Sharon.
Get it.
Oh, no,
No, it's not it.
Face card.
Oh, no. Geez, I thought we've got to be out of face cards.
Face card.
Wow. All right. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 cards left. 14 cards out of the 52 deck that's there. Yep. And yeah, we're up over $1,200 now, guys. So we've got a good pot going. All right. I'm going to, we only have the 2 tickets in for the gift for the week. One for Marlene and one for Patty. So I'm going to just take 2 tickets out of here. And I'll put a P and an M on them.
Oh.
So one more left in there. All right. Yeah, you got a 50-50 shot at winning a gift here. All right. It is Marlene. Woohoo! So Marlene wins the leftover Christmas gift. Open it up. Let's see what it is. It is. It's heavier than it looks. No, there's. I think we have 2 more of them. Ooh. Flashlights and a Fox Restaurants gift card. Ooh, $50 at the Henry. Sweet. All for $5. That was a great $5 spent there. All right.
You can
guys,
always
that's all-
use those flashlights.
Yes, flashlights always come in handy.
And I really like how you're using the leftover gifts.
Yes, it's great. We're actually going to get a little bit more money out of them. All right, ALC, let's have a meeting next week to finalize the party on the 8th. So ALC next week after the office meeting. All right, that's it, guys. I will see you tomorrow morning. 8:30 is breakfast. 9:30 is the meeting. 8:30 is when you can have mimosas and Bloody Marys and
I
bacon.
have a question, Todd. I
Yes.
know you're probably trying to wrap this up, but is anyone else having a problem with when they've loaded the BAC to transaction desk? It's throwing an address into my contract in a very small little way, okay? And is anybody else having an issue with that? Like, for instance, if you are in the BAC and you make any change to it whatsoever, it completely erases the escrow officer from the contract. Anybody else having any issues like that?
Carolyn was
So,
having an issue. Carolyn was having an issue with an address populating in her contract as well, but I don't know. She may have figured that out. I think it was something else. I don't know if it had anything to do with VAC or not.
Yeah. So Patty, in transaction desk, I have been having a lot of trouble with it populates names where it's not supposed to be, and B, when I set it up on Authentisign, it is putting